As entrepreneurs, we all have a reason why we chose to leave our 9 to 5 for an 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. I'm here to capture the stories of why we all hustle and grind for our companies. Michelle and Vin are a successful power couple team that has excelled in the world of real estate. They found success as residential real estate investors, buying and holding properties for MTR as well as flipping properties. In their spare time, they enjoy connecting with the right people, sharing their knowledge, nurturing relationships, and mentoring other investors. The next chapter will include multifamily and storage units. With over 20 years of combined experience and over 450 real estate transactions under their belt, Michelle and Vin's mindset plays a significant role in their ability to find opportunities and establish new relationships. They are consistently on the lookout for potential lending partners and seek to engage with others, even in casual settings. They have raised over $5 million in private capital for their own ventures and those of fellow investors within the last 18 months. Hey, Vin, Michelle, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, well, thank you for having us on.
Anytime. So, I'd like to go first into a bit about your backstory. You guys have been in the real estate space for quite a while, and I want to hear, what were the sequence of events that brought you into real estate? Like, what's your backstory on that?
Oh, I think, Michelle, you should start off with this one. I think hers is a little more interesting than mine.
Yeah, so I actually have been an entrepreneur for over 15 years. And out of those 15 years, 10 of them are actually been in the real estate sector. So I was in staffing and consulting. That was my W-2 corporate job. And then 5 years went in as a entrepreneur doing the same thing. And I really knew I was wanting to get into real estate. And everybody typically gets as a real estate agent. But I decided to become a general contractor. And so the weirdest thing, right? And I had an opportunity that a friend came to me and said, hey, we are having some difficulties in getting our properties taken care of and getting the renovations done because we're having a staffing issue. And I had a staffing background. I said, oh, that would be easy. And that was my entryway into learning kind of from the ground up, of like, what do investors put into these properties? What's the value add? Do you overbuild? Do you underbuild? And then after 5 years of that, doing that successfully, I transitioned over to a real estate investor. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Andrew, I'm just going to say at this stage of my life, I hate that question. Because I recently did the math on that, and I realized that I've been doing real estate for over 20 years, and now I'm like, good Lord, I go, that makes me old. So now I hate that question. But yeah, much like Michelle said, I actually started off in real estate. I always knew it was a vehicle that I wanted to. You keep seeing all these millionaires and billionaires saying that real estate is a large part of it. I'm like, well, if they're doing it, that's got to be a good vehicle. So just the way Michelle said, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I'm like, okay, well, that vehicle is going to be getting a real estate license. Couldn't be farther from the truth. Does it help? Yes, but it's not necessary. I just use it to just be a quicker and faster investor, if that makes sense. So did real estate for a couple of years. Got going, did some fix and flips in California, which is originally where I'm from. Now we're both physically in Texas, and never did any buy and hold. I was smart enough not to do that because I had family members that had properties, and people would stay up to a year rent-free without a problem, and there was nothing that you can legally do. So did some out-of-state investing in Arizona, roughly about '06. And everybody knows what happens March of '08. I remember it like it just happened yesterday. It's still very much I carry it with me because I think it makes me a smarter investor. That's when the last correction happened. So that's when you could walk into KB Homes and Countrywide and you could get a loan. You didn't even need a pulse at that point. It almost seemed like there was no regulation. It was the Wild West. So when multiple balloon payments came, I got kicked in the teeth pretty well. So didn't know anything about masterminds, didn't know anything about networking. I figured, this is something I got to go at alone. Couldn't be farther from the truth. Shortly after that, learned about communities that we're all a part of together and separately. And that really just started to scale, knowing that there's other people with the same challenges that I'm facing, and then more importantly, people that were ahead of me that would be willing to help, to offer a helping hand, and that just really started to scale. At this point, Michelle and I are doing a lot more capital raising, still buying creatively, especially with the way the market is now. I would say I'm thankful for what happened before because it just kind of shows you when you should be pivoting so that you can just move and accelerate that much faster. So I know that's kind of a long-winded answer, but it's a lot in 20 years.
Well, I think that's one of the things that happened, especially in 2008. I was working for a major mortgage bank at the time, and I got to watch this whole thing happen. And
Oh, so you're the reason.
I was just on the servicing side. I was not a loan originator at all. But, it was interesting to watch people really have to pivot. I mean, I could remember one day telling somebody, yeah, you've got a balloon mortgage, and yes, your $140,000 payment is due. And because the loan officer had written this thing, she said, I do not want a balloon loan. She got a balloon loan. I mean, it was just fraud. It was the Wild West, like you said.
Yeah. It was pretty bad, and at the end of the day, it's the responsibility and the fault of the buyer. I think a lot, and I was young and dumb, and the first house was easy. To me, it was like Monopoly. I'm like, wait, I just have to walk out the back door and come back through the front door, and you'll give me another property. And so again, you don't. I don't know. I think I've met one person that actually reads all these real estate contracts. Mm-hmm. That's about it. Nobody else does, and they just sign. And so 100% that was my fault.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but at least you learned it early. Mm-hmm. And I think that, I was joking with somebody the other day. It's like, well, wow, I screwed that up. I must be doing it right. You don't get to the places where you want to get to in real estate unless you have screwed a whole bunch of stuff up and have good stories behind it. That's really what it is. Business is all about screwing up and figuring out how to do it and understanding that there is a level of what I want to put it, there's a level of freedom to knowing that no matter how badly things go, in 2008, 2009, things went very badly, I still can dig out of that. I still can go forward.
100%.
Yeah. So it's definitely something that entrepreneurship has given me, and I really appreciate, I like bringing that up every now and then, just showing you can do this, you got this. So as far as real estate is concerned, so how did you guys get to Texas? How did you guys get into the Texas, what was that transition like?
Yeah, I mean, my story is very different than Vin's story, but it's kind of all the same.
Yeah.
We were both part of masterminds, not at the same time, but he was alumni from one. Mm-hmm. I'm originally from Texas, and when I started in my real estate investing career, I thought you had to be boots on the ground where you invest. And so I said, okay, let me pack up everything from Miami, Florida, and let me get back home and let me start investing in my backyard, because I truly knew that there was a need here in San Antonio for military housing, for providing some type of impact-driven type of housing. I didn't know it was going to evolve to everything it's evolved into today, but I knew that that was what I wanted to do. And in addition to that, my mom was somewhat of an investor back then, but then saw what I was doing and said, hey, I really want to take forward into this impact that you're creating and become a real estate investor with you. Mm-hmm. But we had someone, they found out that I was moving back to San Antonio, and Vin and him we're all friends now, but very close, and basically said, hey, I know of I think a real estate agent in San Antonio that can help you, which I was not, obviously, but that's how we got started in the short side of it. Vin and I started talking, and it went from a couple of conversations and went from, okay, I don't want to have a business relationship with you. Let's have a personal relationship. And then a couple years later after that, having a personal relationship, we became business partners as well. So personal and business always, for whatever in my life, always kind of combined. But now we're building our impact-driven, empire together, which I love. Mom's still kind of involved, but was like, the entrepreneur road is not for me. So bless your guys' heart. And as soon as she found the exit and Vin tag team in, it was like a swap, and it's been great.
Because you're from the South, I do have to bring up, I don't know what sort of version of bless your heart that was, but
yeah, we were actually hanging out with her last night, and you can tell that the stress level is so much lower for her. She's just like, oh, you guys got to get back to work. Well, good job. Great seeing you guys. I'm on my way back to go home and, still have some rest. So, but yeah, I know Vin's story is very different.
Yeah, it's if I get into that'll take us a whole another 15, 20. It's the same story, but told the correct way. That left out all the colorful pieces.
Oh,
Um, but
Yes.
no, yeah, it's again. I was in California. I've been trying to get out of California for years. I kind of, long story short, it was just the politics of the state, and then COVID really just was the breaking straw for me. So during COVID, you couldn't even go outside in California. I know in Texas, I know in Florida. I think they shut down for 2 weeks, and I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, we've been shut down for 2.5 years, and when I say shut down, you couldn't even go outside. So that was just kind of it. So during COVID, I virtually saw more real estate than the last 15 plus years of my career, which is crazy. But that being said, that the market was still very much out of alignment, and so I always say that there's a but for every seat. But my butt was not going to go in a seat that was $100,000 over an actual price. I'm just not going to overpay for that as an investor. It just doesn't make any sense. So I'd actually got on a plane, came out to Austin. I knew a lot of people that moved out here, and I think it was me and I think there was more people working on the plane than there was actually traveling. I think there was like two of us on a giant plane, and you land in Austin Airport, and people were just walking around like it's nothing. It's just like a regular Tuesday. I'm like, wait, what is going on? I'm like on a different planet, and that was that. I'm like, I'm not going back, and so. I was in a different business at that point just because I couldn't really do real estate in California. And shortly after that, started teaming up with Michelle. So Michelle and I met through somebody through a different mastermind. And then that was kind of the beginning of where we're at today. And so now everything that her and I have done with our personal portfolio has all been creative financing subject to. So we love those 3%. I think the highest one we have is like a 3.75 interest rate. I think the lowest is like a 2.75. So all day long, I think we looked at a property yesterday. I think it was 3.25. So love those interest rates compared to what it takes. But it's a matter of being a educated investor, and it's all about community and reaching out and all that good stuff. So.
Yeah, so that's how we met in Texas. Yeah.
You know, you're very much not the only person that has moved from, California. And what were the differences that you saw? I know it seems somewhat obvious, but I'd like to hear right from the horse's mouth. What were the differences you saw in California real estate versus Texas real estate?
Oh, we're talking about specifically about real estate. I thought we were going to talk about the state to state.
Let's keep it in its lane. We only have about another 15, 20 minutes left in the podcast. So
Yeah, the biggest thing for me, the biggest shell shock is property taxes. So yeah. I think I had heard about it before I got here, but I'm like, no, somebody's got to be joking. It can't be twice as much as California. But it literally is twice as much as California. And I'm not talking about the dollar amount. I'm talking about the percentage. Yeah. So you can go and you can have a $700,000 home in California, which is probably, I couldn't tell you where it's at now, but it's not that out of the question. Mm-hmm. It's probably pretty average, especially in Southern California. You can easily get up to the $1 million homes. Mm-hmm. And the amount of taxes that you're paying on that home are almost identical to a property you're paying in Texas for about $300,000. Mm-hmm. So what Michelle and I have recently learned is that if you get into certain pockets within the state, it's dramatically different. So it's a matter of just always learning and educating yourself on where you should be investing.
Yeah, well, California also has a weird thing with property taxes that I think a lot of people don't know, where you're, if I am correct, it's been a few years, but you're not reassessed until sale. So it's more that the property taxes can vary a lot. So if somebody had their house since the 1950s, they're still paying 1950s rates. As soon as that's sold, it now updates to the newer version, which is not... Is that still accurate? I know it was back in the day when I was doing my thing.
The short answer is yes. I mean, you're still going to see some kind of increase, and then obviously you got to try to fight the taxes yearly. But is it going to go from a night to day difference? No, not until you sell it. I think that's why a lot of people just try to pass a home on to their kids, obviously the correct way through paperwork, and then that stays intact. Because yes, you could have an $800 tax bill, but then you live in a $1.5 million house. Good luck with that tax bill once you sell it.
Exactly, but it's on transfers when that happens.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure people knew that's kind of weird as far as California. It's the only state to do that.
I was saying not in Texas, because we every year we're getting assessed, and some of these tax. I mean, sometimes it goes up to 22%
Oh, wow.
increase. Oh, yeah, it's crazy. And I didn't know what I didn't know until we started to really research. Yeah. So every year, you are to fight the taxes, unfortunately, because what they're doing is there's so much construction here in San Antonio, and you're getting that tax bill based off of the assessment of the brand new home, even though some of our homes are built in the 80s and some in the early 90s. So having to have that, but even at that, like, we've recently started to hire experts to do that for us, because they're just like, okay, it doesn't matter, you're going up. And so I've done, in one matter of 1 year, up to $700 increase in mortgage because of the taxes. It's crazy. Yeah.
So is it just your county? Because there's 250 counties in Texas. So I don't know if it's your county or if it's all over.
Thinking it is. Recently, it's so funny. We're house hunting for primary residence. It's one of those things that kind of, you talked about Robert Kiyosaki, and that's kind of what we live by. We rent, believe it or not, and we own over a dozen, quite a few, a real estate portfolio. And so it's fun, but not fun when you're having to kind of relocate. So we've recently started to research, and literally about 15 minutes away from where we're at now, so outside the San Antonio city limits, the taxes are just totally different. So yes, to what you're saying. And they're building out there. And one of the things in San Antonio is that no matter if it's a brand new house or not, you have crazy foundation shifts. Like, we've done remodels and had foundation fixed, and within 6 months, when I say cracking, like very big foundation, not settling. It's the first state that I've learned that they give you permission to water your foundation. I know.
Andrew, that was the funniest thing that I heard when I got here. I'm like, wait, I gotta water my concrete? I'm like, that's a funny joke. I'm like, no, I'm being serious. You gotta water your concrete.
Or your warranty is null and void on your foundation. Yes. So we started kind of looking just 15 minutes out, and truth be told, we've been here for 3.5 years, and never did we know that just a county away, how much the taxes are different. And also we ran into a builder that was actually showing us one of the properties, and you don't have to have permits right now to build out there. I was like, what? And so it's crazy. They're on well water, very different, and it's only 15 minutes away, right? So it's just, so when you're as an investor or even a business owner in itself, sometimes you're just so focused in, and when you start to evolve and change, you can have a different perspective in looking. We're talking to some investors that are in Alabama, and never thought we would invest there, but now I hear Alabama is a very good area as well. So it's always good to continue to explore as you're building, right? But yeah.
Exactly. I didn't know about that. Why make a water my basement? So, I grew up in an area where there's basically 1.5 feet of topsoil and then clay. So we never had to water our basement. It just happened naturally. We flooded every year. I can successfully change a sump pump in under 2 minutes. I'm really good at it. Because I've had to do it for so long.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
It's so dry. It's so dry here. So
Okay.
yeah,
That makes sense. That makes some sense. It's always fun the things we find out about real estate. But so, if you could give advice to somebody starting out in real estate, knowing which you know right now, what is a piece of advice you can give to someone? I'll do both of you guys.
Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, I was gonna say the one piece of advice I can tell anybody really at any phase, but specifically starting off, collaboration. Collaboration. My whole thing is, and because we get asked all the time too, and we even try to, we're always about being of service and having everything we do impact somebody else in a positive way. But we realized you can do everything by yourself. It's not impossible, but it's just that much harder. It's going to take that much longer. When you find the right pieces and you bring the right pieces to the table, it's amazing what can happen. So I always tell people, know what your superpower is, know what your pain points are, and then find the yin to your yang, and then that's where the magic really starts happening. If you have two people that are visionaries and there's nobody implementing, you're just going around in circles. If you have two implementers but nobody's got the vision, same thing. Now you're going in the other direction. But for anybody that's starting off, this whoever's listening to this, please listen to this part. Don't approach somebody that you want to collab with and be like, how can I be of service to you? Because I know for a fact, and Andrew, I know you're a busy guy. If somebody says, hey, I want to help you, but I have no idea how to help you, tell me how to help you. It's more of a hindrance than a help. It's like, know what you're good at, know what they need. So here's the 3 things I always say. You know what you want. You got to find out what the other individual needs, and then you got to bring it to them. And if you can do that, then that's your superpower, and that's how you start to collaborate.
Mm-hmm. So Michelle is the yin to his yang. I figured that's where they were going. So
it depends. Yeah, no, it depends on which business line we're in, but it's always one or the other. People talk about how unique that is because when he talks about a visionary and an integrator, depending on who's your audience, but someone that's going to actually say, okay, what's the big dream? And then someone that says, let's go take action. So that's what a visionary and integrator is. And it depends. We swap roles sometimes. I'm very big about impacting women and how to get into real estate and in coaching. And I have that huge vision, and Vin has to step in and have the integration side of that. Vice versa, we are building this thing together on impact-driven real estate, and Vin has the main vision because he has more of the experience than I do, and I'm the one that says, okay, how can we do the back thing? But anyone that's just first getting started off, the biggest thing that I tell them is you don't have to know exactly where your dream or your path is at. Just know where you're at today. Wherever you feel that you are at today, because it's going to evolve and change as you grow. Be in those rooms that there are people 2 to 3 steps ahead of you, not in the rooms that they've already succeeded. Because if they've already been there where you're just in the Ed Milet rooms and you're in the big rooms, you're going to feel very drained and you're not going to be able to accomplish. You only want to be in front of people that are 2 to 3 steps because then you're able to feel that it's digestible for you to grow. Very much of what Vin says, you do want to make sure, what is your skill set? A lot of people say, well, I don't have any real estate experience. What did you take from your W-2? What do you really like? Do you like to nerd out on technology, on AI? Are you a connector? Do you know a lot of people in your city, in your town? Figure out what that looks like and then be able to say, okay, I really want to learn about this. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's so much in real estate, right? And so do you want to learn about a certain asset class? Do you want to learn how to talk to sellers? Do you want to be like the way I was when I first joined? And I didn't want to talk to sellers. I just wanted to do construction and be the end buyer. Figure out what that is. And even if it's today that you figure it out, and then in 90 days, give it 90 days to try it, you don't like it, then feel to move on to the next. I think what happens is someone gets in and they make a couple of calls and then they're like, I don't like this. And then they want to go and be a connector, and you got to just know where you're at in your life and then adjust and be successful in that and then keep moving forward. We're always evolving and changing in anything that we do. But that's how I tell somebody to start.
Absolutely. Perfect. So we're getting towards the end of things. I have one question that I want to ask, and that is, what is one podcast or book that has had a major impact on your lives that you'd like to share with the audience today?
Man, that is such a big question. I'm going to say books. I'm going to go with books. The Power of One More, Traction, Morning Miracle, and Profit First. I know that's more than one book, but I would say those 4 books are amazing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Michelle?
All of those, but Buy Back Your Time. That's from Dan Martell, and that's just recent. Let Them by Mel Robbins. That is a newer book. Yeah, you want to go and pick that book up, Andrew. That's a very good book in just business and self and everything. So those would be the 2 that I would say right now is what for 2025 that I picked up.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you guys taking the time.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks again for joining us on the Hustle and Grind podcast. If you want to learn more about Michelle and Vin, check out the link in the description.